Teen Titans, go! One, two, three, four, go! Teen Titans! I don't even know if I'm gonna keep that in. I literally just sat down and started singing that. So, you know what? F it. We're just gonna go with it. Welcome to the Cinema Lounge podcast. I'm gonna readjust my microphone because it doesn't look good on the camera. But my name is Garrett Inman. This is the Cinema Lounge where we chill and talk about movies. Last week I was not hosting. I had my buddy Duncan from Sports and Donuts and one of his co-hosts on the show, Ethan, on to co-host for me because I was in Colorado. Posted a little bit about it on my Instagram, but I'm not really a good social media person, so probably missed it if you didn't see it. But it's a fun time. Did a lot of fun things that I never thought I'd do. Went to the Sand Dunes National Park, sled down some sand. I don't know. Fed some giraffes, which was pretty neat. Got to pet them. Went to Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, where it's like the only zoo on a mountainside. It was pretty fun. They had a area where wallabies were just walking around, which are basically tiny kangaroos, which was really cool. But yeah, it was really fun. It was really fun. Had a great time. But I'm glad to be back. Glad to get back into the podcasting thing. I don't know. It's a thing. The grind. Today we are talking about a cartoon from my childhood, the Teen Titans. Hit the desk. We're talking about the Teen Titans, childhood favorite of mine. I was debating on what I wanted to talk about this week because there was just a lot of topics bouncing around in my head. There's been one that I want to talk about after doing the Why Source Material Matters. I wanted to talk a little bit about politics, not in terms of like the broad scope of politics, but when we hear complaints about people putting politics into movies, kind of my thoughts on how you do that right, and where that argument falls apart, or what the discussion really should be about, because I feel like it's devolved. But I also realized that we just had 2 weeks in a row where we didn't actually specifically talk about a movie or a franchise or a series and delve deep into that. So I didn't really want to do that the very same week I come back from Colorado. I want to talk about... that was a lot of stuttering. My dad does a little radio show that I intern at, and it's a financial thing, but right now they're doing a month where they talk about movies and financial lessons you can pull from movies. This week they talked about Moana, and that really got me thinking about Moana for whatever reason. I'm not like the biggest fan of the movie, but what their discussion of the financial stuff you can pull from it made me think about the thematic stuff. And I really want to talk about that. And I was going to talk about it until last night. This is how I plan ahead. I literally just come up with something the night before. But over the course of the summer, me and my little brother had been watching through Teen Titans. This is my second time watching through the entire show. And last night we sat down to watch Teen Titans Trouble in Tokyo, the TV movie. And I don't think I've seen it before. I don't quite remember, but I really liked it. I really enjoyed my time with it. I had also watched a video this past week of a breakdown of why Teen Titans is so memorable, why this show has been like stuck in our pop culture lexicon, right? Why certain shows don't stick around. Certain shows aren't remembered fondly or aren't remembered at all, unless you're a part of a certain demographic, like Battlestar, right? no one really remembers Battlestar. There's a few select people, but it was kind of just, it came out during a time when He-Man was popular, right? I watched Battlestar a little bit growing up as a kid, but I don't ever see anyone talk about it. No one goes in and breaks down the complexities of Battlestar. But for whatever reason, people go back to shows like Teen Titans. Seen a lot of people talk about Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, SpongeBob, old SpongeBob, Jimmy Neutron, old Fairly Odd Parents. Shows like that have stuck around for such a long time. People constantly talk about it. What makes those shows stick around? And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about this week was why has Teen Titans stuck around for as long as it has? Why do people continue to talk about it to this day? Granted, the simple answer is Teen Titans Go is currently going, and people constantly compare this show to Teen Titans. But I want to kind of delve into why that show works and what makes it so good. Not really crap on Teen Titans Go. It's not a good show, and it kind of cheapens everything the original Teen Titans was trying to go for. But people have already crapped on Teen Titans Go way too much. To a point where the show is almost overhated. Even though it's not good. But before we get into Teen Titans and talking about Teen Titans, I'm going to throw up some pictures on screen. So, to talk about the weekly headlines. So first, this is a picture of the actress Chloe Bennett. Chloe Bennett, who I think got big, maybe even started her television career. I'm not entirely sure. But she's famous for being on Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as Skye, later renamed Daisy, aka Quake, who is a superhero S.H.I.E.L.D. agent from the comics. She got famous there. I think she dated infamous YouTuber Logan Paul, which was funny for a stint. I don't know if they're still dating. I don't really keep up with that. I just found that funny. But she is walking away from the Powerpuff Girls project. The CW is... I'm going to readjust my wire because I keep hitting it and I can hear it in my microphone real quick. There we go. The CW, if you don't know, is making a Powerpuff Girls reboot, which, ironically enough, is also another show that my little brother and I are making our way slowly through. We kind of just sat on Teen Titans for a while and have periodically tuned into Powerpuff Girls, the old show. And this was also one of my childhood favorites. It was one of those shows back when I was a kid, right, where it starred three girls, and I absolutely loved it. I loved their personalities, but I was like, oh, it stars women. I'm a boy. I can't watch this. So I'd always hide it from people, even my sisters, for whatever reason, which I just found funny. That's like a funny memory for me, where I like sneak off to our TV room and sit down and go, I can't wait to watch Powerpuff Girls. But this is a universally beloved show. So many memorable characters. Obviously, you got Bubbles, Blossom, Buttercup, villains like Mojo Jojo, him, Fuzzy Lumpkins, the Gangrene Gang, Mayor, Mrs. Bellum. All these fun characters. And CW was going to make like a reboot, continuation type deal where they explore the three girls as adults and doing adult things, which a lot of people are not happy about to begin with. They released a script, or a script was leaked of the pilot episode. People hated it, so they're going back reworking it. Chloe Bennett was going to be Blossom. I don't remember who was going to be Buttercup, but Dove Cameron from Liv and Maddie, also on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., was going to be Bubbles. And my reaction to it is, good for her. Good for her, because frankly, this show's going to suck. I don't see any way this show could actually be good. Like, the entire premise of it just opens it up to be bad. You can't take the Powerpuff Girls and say, let's make an edgy teen YA show about it. What was fun about Powerpuff Girls, what worked about Powerpuff Girls, was it was an action adventure with just three innocent girls dealing with horrible people, learning lessons. You know, they're still bickering children. That's the fun of it, right? Where they're they're still like 4, 5, 6 year olds, right? They're in kindergarten, preschool, and they're fighting to save the day. That's kind of the fun of it, right? But taking that, aging them up to disillusioned teenagers, which admittedly I guess isn't that bad of an idea, because obviously being superheroes in your way pre-adolescence would be damaging on some level, but it's something people don't want to see. But yeah, I mean, good for Chloe. Get out of there, because this show's probably not going to be great for people's careers. Although it does have a decent cast. I think what's his name? I don't remember the actor's name, but he's the dude from Scrubs, who I think he's the guy who originated the default dance from Fortnite. He's the guy who originated that dance that Fortnite then took and just put it into their game. I think I want to say Donald Gleason. That's probably not the right. That's definite. No, that's not it. Never mind. Forget that. But he's gonna voice Mojo Jojo. So it's not a bad cast. It's just, I feel like this show is just not gonna help anyone's career. So I think Chloe recognized that and said, "Get me the heck out of here." Next up, look at this man. This is Idris Elba. If you're just listening, which I think most of my viewers are listeners, so this is Idris Elba. Our next story has to deal with him. This beautiful man, who is the star of the currently out Suicide Squad, or The Suicide Squad. He was great in it as Bloodsport. He put on his Instagram this picture right here. And it's a close-up picture of Knuckles, of a knuckle, but Knuckles' knuckle. Basically announcing that he's going to be voicing Knuckles the Echidna in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which is going to be great. I love it. I'm a big fan of the first one. It's not the best movie. It's nowhere near a perfect film. And I think part of my love just comes from the fact that the people making this movie feel like they want to make something that the fans love, right? Going in and redesigning the character, reworking certain aspects about it, and it just felt, even though it was a road trip movie, live action, animation hybrid starring James Marsden, because that's all he does now. Even though it was that, it still felt authentically like a Sonic movie somehow. So I'm excited for this movie. I think Idris is a good choice, although one hang up, and I think I just have to hear him voicing the character. One hang up I do have, Idris Elba has a very, I don't know how to describe this. He has like a Calvin Klein voice. And by that I mean he just sounds classy, right? You know, even in like the Suicide Squad, where he's a bit more unruly and vicious and angry, he still has kind of that class, right? He talks in his British accent, which is where he comes from, and he talks like this, and he sounds still a little bit smooth and suave. And then I don't know, he's done American accents before, but he still sounds smooth and suave. Knuckles is a bit more rough. He's a bit more goofy doofy, I guess. I'm using some stupid words. But he's a bit more, he's a bit just more kind of not redneck, but he's a bit more kind of that personality, right? He's a bit more of someone who's just going to get in to use his fists. He's a bit of a doofus in some levels, but he's known for kind of a more maybe gravelly voice would work more, where it's like, shoot, I gotta get the emerald gem, like where you have to put a little bit of I don't know how to describe it. I'm not a voice actor. I just kind of make voices. But you kind of have to do something like this. Not really to this level where I sound like a smoker. but where you kind of have to contort your throat and your Adam's apple or whatever. This is awful. But yeah, I'm excited for this. Idris Elba is one of my favorite working actors right now. So I think he'll do a great job. And one of my favorite things, anyone who's been posting about this on Instagram and saying like oh my gosh, this is so cool. He's been posting all of those on his Instagram stories. And I think that's really cool when an actor does that, especially one with a significant following. Like, that's just really cool of him. Next, that's Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett Johansson was going to do a movie based off of the Tower of Terror, which I did not get a picture of. So she was going to helm that movie. She was producing it. She was going to star in it. Another like Disney ride movie, like Jungle Cruise, Pirates of the Caribbean, Tomorrowland, Haunted Mansion, that kind of stuff. And I'm sure it was going to be fine. It wasn't like a movie I was looking forward to a lot, but Disney has kind of blacklisted her and booted her out. So I'm going to... Oh, no, wrong picture. Hold on. So I'm going to just take her and whoop! They booted her out. They booted her out. I don't even know if that comes across on screen or what. But she got booted out by Disney because of the whole lawsuit she's doing and all that. So Disney said, hey, I know we're not treating you fairly and you're suing us for it. So you don't get to work with us anymore. So they canceled her movie, kicked her off, and I don't think Disney and ScarJo are working together ever again. Next, this is Danny Devito. We love Danny Devito. He's famous for a lot of things. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Probably most famous for being Frank in Always Sunny. He's my favorite character on Always Sunny in Philadelphia. You know, I just pulled out my guns and started blasting them. You know, that kind of stuff. Or, you know, one of my nicknames at work is Trash Man. And he's the thank for that. So I kind of got a little bit of love. Not a little. I got a lot of love for Danny DeVito. And there has been some news to come out. Not bad news. Just interesting news. This is Danny DeVito as the Penguin. Remember the Penguin? Batman Returns. Just watched that for the first time this year. He is terrifying. Like, no incarnation of the Penguin has ever been. And yet somehow he kind of pulls it off, but it's like this really dark version of the Penguin. And naturally, what are we, 20? Not 20, we're like 30, 40 years later. DC has hired Danny DeVito to write a Penguin comic book? What? I don't know. I feel like this will be interesting. I'm recently getting into the comic books and trying to read more. Right now, I'm just like binging my way through all the Moon Knight comics just because it's a character I've always been interested in and intrigued in, but never really knew anything about them. So I've been reading through the Moon Knight comics. I've read the original 1985 run from Doug Minch, and then I read the 1980 run is Doug Minch, I think. 1985 run, which is like 6 issues, and I'm in the middle of Mark Spector and Moon Knight run. Really enjoying these comics. So this is something I'm going to keep a lookout for, because I just want to see what Danny DeVito is going to do with a comic book, much less a character that he played in a movie. That just seems... It seems interesting, to say the very least. So, good luck with that, Danny. I hope you do good with that. Yeah, finally. Holy cow. So this was something I almost completely forgot about because Marvel's been shutting it down left and right. So hopefully this stays up or something. I don't know. But yeah, so Moon Knight is, speaking of Moon Knight, he's getting his own Disney Plus show. And recently there was a picture leaked. Our first look at the Moon Knight costume from the series. Yeah, I don't know how to feel about it. If you're just listening, it's like an all gray suit. He kind of looks like he's wrapped like a mummy. The hood has like a moon on it. He has white eyes. Like a crescent moon sewn into or wrapped into the chest piece there. I don't hate it. Like, I think it's a neat aesthetic, but it looks way too much like the statue of Khonshu in the comics rather than Moon Knight. What makes Moon Knight cool, and I should have put a picture up of this. What makes Moon Knight cool is that he wears all white, right? That's one of the things that aesthetically about his costume is freaking great. It's all white. There was a moment in the comics where he just goes, yeah, I want to make sure the criminals know I'm coming. Like, I don't want to be hidden. I don't want to do the stealth game. Nah. I want them to see me and fear me. They will be too petrified to do anything, so I'm just going to wear white. They're going to see me coming, and they ain't going to do a dang thing about it. That's what made him cool. That's one of the coolest aspects of him. And he's just going to be wearing gray. I don't really see a cape, so that doesn't seem right. So if I had to guess, although it looks like he just got out of a public bathroom, if you look in the background, there's a line of sinks, so it looks like he just got done with a bathroom fight. So I don't know, because it looks like maybe something he would have worn straight out the tomb after he dies. If you don't know the comic book origin, he gets shot and killed in an ancient tomb trying to stop his boss, a mercenary, Bushman, and the moon god of Egypt, Khonshu, resurrects him to be kind of the living embodiment of the vengeance of the moon. So, like, that's what it looks like, but it shows him in a public bathroom. So, I don't know if this is going to be the suit for the entire season, or if it's going to be just for the beginning, like his first starting out suit. But either way, I hope this isn't like a permanent suit, because the suit is fine, but I really don't want it to be his final suit. Because that would be a little disappointing, especially when the Moon Knight suit is just iconic and amazing. Anyway. So yeah, now, those have been the weekly headlines. So now on to Teen Titans. There it is. Teen Titans. The logo. Man, my mind is just so tired right now. I probably shouldn't have recorded it now, but that's fine. That's okay. Teen Titans is one of my all-time favorite childhood shows. I was going to say all-time shows. I think there's some issues with it in general that kind of keep it from being in like my top 10, top 20 shows of all time, even like cartoons. I think there's cartoons out there that are better, superhero cartoons that are better. But this definitely is up there as one of the best, like 2000s cartoons, superhero cartoons. It's leagues better, miles better than the superhero stuff we're getting today in terms of the cartoons. Right, it outclasses Teen Titans Go. Even if you like Teen Titans Go, there's no denying that this was better. It's better than the new Disney XD Spider-Man show, which looks so bad. uh, so yeah, it's such a good show. It follows the lives of Robin, Cyborg, Starfire, Beast Boy, and Raven as they fight crime in every episode. And what's neat is that they kind of have a good balance of, we're gonna like do some episodes for the kids, and we're gonna do some episodes for the adults and the kids, right? So you'll tune in and you might have an episode where Beast Boy starts working at a tofu shop, and it turns out the tofu shop is run by a giant sentient piece of tofu who's going to kidnap all the cows from this earth, right? And it's that one's obviously more oriented towards the kids. It's more to appeal towards the children, but it also kind of embraces the comic book nature of the origins of the show. The show takes a lot of liberties from the comics, and even just straight up makes crap up in terms of characters they use. They'll either use Slade, aka Deathstroke, but they never say Deathstroke, probably because Cartoon Network was like, can't have a character with death in the name, so they call him Slade. So they'll use Slade or Trigon or Dr. Light, but then they also make up their own characters, stuff like Red X, a fan favorite character from the show. They introduced him in the comics. They just completely made him up as a personality of Robin's. Or minor antagonist. There's a character called Cardiac, which I don't think was a comic book character, but they introduced him in the show. They do a really good job of just kind of introducing some weird, wacky crap that fits really well. With the comic booky nature of it, it's animated. It's animated in kind of this anime style. They copy a lot from anime comedies in terms of how characters are animated and react, where they'll maybe just have a little pop-up of the face, or the faces will grow big or grow small, or they'll contort, and it's really fun. It's a really fun way to animate it, and once again, I think anime fits really well with comic book aesthetics, which just makes the show really good looking, and action scenes look really well done. All the emotions feel fluid. Every interaction feels fluid. Even the still, like the classic still images with like moving backgrounds, still feels like you're getting the motion and the punches and the hits. Such a fun show. Basically all I want to do is just break down kind of each of our main Teen Titan, and the season that kind of focuses on them. The show lasted 5 seasons. Each season kind of focuses on a different character. Throughout, each season's kind of constructed where there's individual episodes that have nothing to do with the story, like the tofu episode, or there's an episode where this dude named Mad Mod kidnaps the Teen Titans and puts them through schooling, and they have to break out, and it's this whole wacky, goofy situation. But then they have a main story, so like season 1, which we'll start out with. Season 1 focuses on Robin and his relationship with Deathstroke or Slade. Season 2 is about Beast Boy's relationship with Terra. Season 3 is about Cyborg. Season 4 is about Raven, and Season 5 is about Beast Boy. Starfire, unfortunately, didn't get a season dedicated to herself, because they decided to make Season 2 about Terra rather than Starfire, which I think is fine. They kind of make up for it. They made a direct-to-TV movie, Trouble in Tokyo, which focuses mainly on Starfire and Robin and their relationship. So first, let's start with Season 1, Robin. Robin, his whole deal is that he's just super laser focused on being a hero, which leads to these obsessions, right? He has this intense need for justice, to execute justice, right? Kind of coming from being an apprentice, a sidekick of Batman, Probably. That's definitely like a Bruce Wayne type deal. I think it's confirmed in the show, in one of the random episodes, that this is Dick Grayson Robin. And season 1 is all about him encountering Slade for the first time. And they're fighting all these villains that Slade throws at him. Cinderblock, Plasmus, or the people that Slade manipulates, like Thunder and Lightning, right? They have to fight Slade on all these turns. Slade constantly is popping up, and Robin develops this intense obsession. He develops this obsession. His need for justice has driven him to a point where the only villain they haven't beaten, the only villain they haven't been able to defeat or stop or do anything against, is Slade. Slade is constantly one step ahead. He's constantly outwitting them. And they can't do anything about it. And while the other Titans are kind of like, okay, that sucks, but we'll get them next time. Or, well, we got other villains we got to worry about, right? Cyborg is a lot more focused on building machines and kind of just hanging out with his friends. Beast Boy's a lot more laid back. Starfire wants to find out more about Earth. Raven's kind of keeping to herself. All these characters are either more content just kind of hanging out or living life. But Robin, he just lasers in on Slade. And this develops into a really bad obsession of he's spending nights and nights on end, not getting any sleep, not living a healthy life, because he's just staying up trying to figure out where Slade is, who Slade is, what he wants. And it comes to a point towards the end of the season, spoilers by the way, if you haven't seen the show, but it comes to a point towards the end of the season where Robin is so ready, is willing to do anything to defeat Slade, that he literally becomes a supervillain. He creates the Red X character, the Red X persona, and starts robbing these high security things to get on Slade's radar, all the while pretending like he's still with the team. So he's like sending out his holograms or robot drones to fight with the team. And the team isn't aware of this. So while all this is going on, he's having to fight his team. They're trying to stop him, and he beats them just to get close to Slade. And then Slade basically finds out, kidnaps Robin, and manipulates him into becoming his apprentice to where he can't get out of it. So Robin's obsession has driven him to a point of no return. He's betrayed his friends. He's lied and deceived his friends to a point where now their relationships are threatened. The show starts out at a point where they've been a team for like a little bit, right? You don't get to see their origin until season 5, but you can tell they're not like best friends. They haven't been doing this for a while. They've built Titan's Tower and they've fought a couple of supervillains. That's about it. They're not like best friends. They don't understand each other. You got the episode in season 1 where this character called the Puppet King comes in and body swaps everyone, kidnapping everyone except Starfire and Raven, but they're body swapped. So they're having to learn how to use each other's powers, even though Raven's is all about emotion, and it's about the restraining of emotion, where Starfire's is about emotion, but it's the joy and experiencing the emotion that fuels the powers. So both of them have to learn, adapt to each other's worldviews and personalities in order to control their powers, which was a really interesting concept. So you can tell they don't fully understand each other yet. They're not fully like trusting. They're teenagers, but there's not that bond. So when Robin does this, he's almost completely shattered anything they've built up. So they don't trust him anymore. So he has to work to build that trust back up. At the same time, he's now kidnapped by Slade and being used by Slade for nefarious purposes. So Robin has to make a choice to either self-sacrifice or continue working with Slade in order to protect his friends. So it comes to a head. Obviously, they defeat Slade, but Slade escapes. And that's kind of like where season 1 ends off. I should have pulled up like an episode list. I'm not going to go through every single episode. But yeah, and then from there on out, Robin's kind of like, he's learned that he's the leader, but he has to learn to trust his team. He has to learn to let his team in on things. And it gets to a point, certain points in the season, in the rest of the series, every character kind of has their own secret past, their own bits and pieces of them that they don't want to reveal to the other characters. But because Robin had to confront that and face that early, because he is naturally secretive, and he has secrets that some secrets he doesn't even let the team in. There's an episode in season 5 where they do this entire race to get back Robin's briefcase that Robin won't tell any of them about. And they, at the end, they finally go, you know what? It's okay that some friends have some secrets, so we're going to let you have this one. And he goes, no, you know what? I'm going to show you what's in it. And they open the briefcase. Of course, they don't reveal it to the audience, because why would they? But that kind of shows a bit of Robin's character growth, where, yeah, he's still naturally secretive because he was trained by Batman. he was trained to be like this. But he's learned he's got to let his friends in. He's got to willingly give up secrets. And you also see that when they have secrets, when Raven's hiding who she is, or her backstory, or who her father is, or Cyborg kind of hiding certain parts about himself, or Starfire about her heritage and stuff she does back home, or her just physiognomy. I think that's what the word is. But basically things that her body does. She tries to hide it from her friends because she's ashamed of it. Robin is the first one to step out, offer a hand, and say, it's okay, we're here for you. Right? He recognizes, he has at least enough self-awareness from the events of season 1 that keeping secrets is only damaging to yourself. So he's the first one to say, look, I understand, but we're here for you regardless. And I like how that kind of character growth happens. And then in Trouble in Tokyo, that movie addresses a part of Robin where Robin is still seriously a hero. You don't really see him have a lot of fun. You don't see him out of costume. You don't really see him going out and doing a lot of stuff recreationally. Like, he'll go have post-fight pizza with his friends, or he'll play a couple of video games. But for the most part, everything fits within the hero box, right? Where he's so obsessed with doing his job that he doesn't recognize or pursue anything that doesn't benefit that for him. He's not going to play video games unless it increases his mental processing, or he's not going to go for a walk in the park because he's already doing laps around the tower. Stuff like that, where if it doesn't serve the higher purpose of being a superhero, I'm not going to do it. Which also addresses why he clearly likes Starfire. He clearly has an attraction towards her, but has never pursued it throughout all 5 seasons of the show, which fans were a little upset about. But the movie kind of addresses it as Robin has that attraction, but he's not going to pursue it because it's not something that benefits his hero work. He places being a superhero, his job, over his personal relationships. And so, when it comes to Trouble in Tokyo, he has to sit down and realize, I'm attracted to Starfire, Starfire's attracted to me, and I have to learn to let go a little bit of my work, of what I feel driven to do a little bit, in order to spend time with those I love and pursue relationships with those that I'm attracted to, because that's how you have a fulfilling life, to build up the balance between work and play, right? All work and no play makes Robin a dull boy. But so that's where we go with Trouble in Tokyo, where he has to finally learn to do something for himself rather than constantly pursuing the hero life. So he finally learns and accepts his attraction and his love for Starfire, and decides to become, They finally become a couple at the end of the movie. And he decides to let the rest of them say, you know what? Let's have a vacation. We've never done a vacation before, so let's do it, right? And that intense obsession, that intense just work-oriented mindset, first off, feels very natural for a sidekick of Batman, right? I think Dick Grayson has usually been more of a lighthearted character, especially when he goes off on his own. I've heard like his Nightwing comics are a lot similar to Spider-Man. But I think this works because he's a younger dude. I think he's like 15 or 16 in the show. And he's going off on his own after spending years under a guy who broods and is intense, barely has any time for a personal life. So it feels natural for a character like Robin. Then you have Cyborg, right? Cyborg, his main focus was season 3. Cyborg's main thing, right, is that he's part human, part machine. And a lot of his struggle throughout the course of the show is just figuring out who he is, which parts of him to accept, right? I've seen some people compare it to like a disabled kid, right, where you have these body augmentations. You might have a fake leg, a fake arm, right? There's even an episode in season 1 where Cyborg interacts with a kid who has a prosthetic arm, and the kid looks at Cyborg and goes, "Wow, you're just like me. I'm just like Cyborg," and stuff like that, where Cyborg it was ripped apart and put back together again by science and by machines, and he doesn't know who he is. So a lot of his struggles is with identity and with his limitations or his lack of limitations. There's an episode where he has to fight this dude named Atlas, who's all machine, can just overwhelm him. And Cyborg's become obsessed with trying to beat him, but he can't push his limits because as a machine, machines only are able to do so much, but as a human, right, I'm able to lift weights and build up muscle mass. Machine can't do that. So he has a limit, but he's trying to push past it. And so he has to come to the realization multiple times that his machine parts aren't something to be rejected. It's a part of him now. But it's his humanity. It's who he is as a human that makes him, that gives him that value, right? It's his humanity that makes him willing to do this, that pushes him to that limit. So he has to find that balance between the two parts of himself, right? Rather than reject one and accept the other. The episode with the kid with the prosthetic arm, Cyborg almost accepts becoming full robot. He decides he wants to reject his humanity until the last second. At the episode with Atlas, he realizes he doesn't have to contain himself to the limitations he has. He can push through it. He can push through it and work his way through it to being better, even though the machinery might not go with him. Season 3, he fights against Brother Blood, who has become obsessed with Cyborg and his machinery and bettering himself via Cyborg's machinery. He sees Cyborg as like this ultimate human, right? He becomes obsessed with upgrades and that kind of stuff, right? Brother Blood's his whole power is that he can hypnotize people. He can put people under mind control. And so he mind controls everyone except Cyborg, and he can't mind control Cyborg. And he thinks it's because of the machines, and it's because of all the machinery Cyborg has in him. So Brother Blood develops this obsession, but Cyborg is now just content with his machines, and he's getting mad at Brother Blood for stealing his crap. At the end of the season, Brother Blood has hypnotized everyone except Cyborg. And he's holding Cyborg down, and he's like, "Why can you resist me?" And Cyborg finally has that click, that realization. He's like, "It's not the machinery that's resisting you. It's my humanity. It's my sheer willpower that I'm rejecting you." And he pulls in some machinery parts, beats Brother Blood. And that's, for me, it's a little like fantastical for the show, but I think it works in terms of the thematic relevance, right? Where Cyborg realizes in that moment, the machine isn't what makes me a hero. The machine isn't what makes me valuable. It's my humanity. It's literally who I am on the inside. Right? He has the sheer willpower to do what no one else can. He should be a friggin' Green Lantern, to be honest, but his humanity is what grounds him, what motivates him to do good, what pushes him to do good, what brings him together with his team, the reason he fights to save people is because of his humanity, because of who he is as a human. And it's such just a cool moments like that. I've become really partial to Cyborg episodes because he has those real revelations like that, where you can really click with, even if I'm not someone who has prosthetic body parts, I can still empathize and connect with someone who has two parts of himself that are constantly at war and trying to figure out which part to go with, but ultimately kind of going, I need both parts working in tandem, right? I need to work on my humanity. My humanity is what makes me valuable. And something with that just clicks with me a lot. And I really enjoy Cyborg. He kind of, in episodes where he's not that prominent, where he plays more secondary characters, he kind of he's Beast Boy's best friend. He does a lot of stuff with Beast Boy. He really likes eating a lot. Basically, his whole plot line in Trouble in Tokyo is he gets in a feud with an all-you-can-eat chef because Cyborg is literally eating everything. So he likes to eat. He really likes his machines. He's an excellent inventor. He also was for a time a leader of Titans East, which is kind of a spin-off team. So he is, in terms of the hierarchy of the characters, if Robin's away, Cyborg is usually leading the team. He still has that natural leadership abilities. He's willing to work with people, work through things with people. He is very understanding. He is willing to sit down with people at a personal level. That's something that Robin's not usually able to do, right? Robin's able to offer redemption, but in terms of human connection, ironically enough, it's the guy who's half machine who's able to connect with people on a human level the best. Then we have Raven. Raven, throughout the show, you see her as just kind of your typical emo goth girl. And a lot of kids who grew up with it were like, oh, are you a Raven girl or are you a Starfire, or a Raven type of guy or a Starfire type of guy? There were dudes who watched the show and realized they liked goth girls. They had a thing for goth girls. Other people grew up watching the show, and then once they kind of hit the time when they were attracted to women, they realized, hey, I kind of like Starfire type women who are feel a bit more innocent and upbeat and maybe a little ditzy, but that's kind of adorable, right? But that's kind of what Raven's become in like the modern pop culture, is just your stereotypical goth girl, and then the jumping off point for that, I don't know. But I think she's so much more, because it's not just like, she's not just sitting there going, oh, life is pain type. She's more someone who experiences intense emotions, but due to her powers, due to who she is, she's not allowed to express them. She restrains everything inside and it eats her up. There's an episode in season 1 where Beast Boy and Cyborg enter into kind of her mind's plane or whatever, and they meet all the different personalities of Raven, where you have a Raven who's just like super giddy and joyful. You got a Raven who's like really hungry all the time. You got slothful Raven, and they meet all these personalities to work through getting out. And you get to realize that Raven has all these emotions. She seems like just a stereotypical, I hate the world, I hate the people around me. but she genuinely loves her team. She genuinely experiences fear and frustration and love and joy, but she can't ever express it because then her powers would just wreak havoc. She has to be restrained, which is seen in another episode, I think in season 2, maybe season 3, where the Titans watch a scary movie, and everyone's terrified except her because she's not allowed to express her emotions. But then that bottles up, and her fear from the movie manifests in the monster from the movie attacking the tower and taking down the Titans one by one. She has to learn to deal with it. Literally, she has to confront her emotions head on, and instead of restraining it, dealing with it and processing through it. Season 4 deals with her less about her emotions, but more about her father. Her father is a trans-dimensional demon who conquers and destroys realities, named Trigon. And Trigon has put Raven on Earth so he can one day come and destroy it. She is his doorway. When she becomes of age, when the prophecy that has been written comes, she becomes the doorway for Trigon to step through and conquer the world. And that's something she knows about from birth. That's something she has known since the beginning of the show, but she hides it from her team because she doesn't want them to see her as this monster, as this bringer of the end, so she hides it from them. She wants to bond with them, and you see at the beginning of the end, at the beginning of season 4, she takes them out on one day where she treats them overly kindly. She does everything they want to do, right? She has developed this bond with Beast Boy, who went into the journal in season 1, so understands where her mindset is, and he's constantly trying to include her, trying to form that friendship. That's why a lot of people ship those two, because he understands that where she's at mentally, and he's constantly bending over backwards to help her with that. But she treats him overly kindly, and it comes to a point where they're like, why are you doing this, right? This is unusual for you. You don't usually like playing football, stuff like that. And she basically has to break down and say, look, this is essentially the last day the Earth exists, and I just want to make it the best possible thing for you. So the entire course of season 4 is them trying to prevent this from happening. Slade, who died in season 2, has come back to life as kind of the lieutenant in Trigon's army, and they have to deal with that. And the season really deals with Raven's relationship with everyone, her dealing with herself and who she is, and learning that just because someone says you're the doorway for a transdimensional demon bent on destroying Earth doesn't mean you have to be. Doesn't mean you can't redeem yourself, right? There's a really good scene towards the end of the season where Robin is trying to track down Raven. The other 3 Titans are fighting Trigon, and he goes to find Raven after she's become the portal and disappeared. He finds her, but as a child, right? She's become scared and has hidden within herself, and now all it is childlike fear. And Robin sits down and says, you gotta help us fight. And she goes, there's no hope. Who can have hope? And Robin basically says, Raven, you are the embodiment of hope. You were born, and people told you you were going to be the gateway for the end of the world. You were literally going to be the worst possible living thing in existence. Yet you had hope. You hoped to become a hero. You worked your entire life to help people, to save lives, to form bonds, friendships with people. You had hope that you could be better. Just because that's what you were meant to be in terms of a prophecy, that doesn't mean that's who you are. And it was just such a poignant scene for me, where she spent her entire life in her mind running from this prophecy, from who she was told she was going to be at birth, but coming to the realization she wasn't running from it. She was actively fighting against it. She had that hope to be better than who she was born to be. And once again, that's just such a really strong thematic thing to kind of bring up. And I guess like addressing it to Christian beliefs. I don't know why I said Christian like that, but just as a Christian, I'm looking at this going, well, actually, I'm just thinking of this right off the top of my head, but you can compare it to that's how Christianity is in terms of our beliefs, where everyone's born sinners. We're all born as sinners, going against God. We're all kind of destined to go to hell. But the point of life is to come to know Christ and constantly work on bettering ourselves, constantly working towards being more or being closer to perfect, being the best possible human we can be. Constantly fighting against what we're destined to do with that hope, with that faith, right? Kind of similar in terms of that journey. But Raven was such a good character in that season, and you can kind of just, it puts every action she does into context. But she's also very intelligent, bookish. She's been around for a while, and in the end, she regains that hope, works with Robin to fight against her father and reject what she was raised to be, what she was told she was going to be, reject her destiny and her destination to be someone better, to work to be someone better, which works really well as her kind of being the embodiment of hope. And now I'm sitting here going, so we got Cyborg kind of with will, Raven with hope. I'm sitting here going, who else could we put into, because into lantern categories? Hope is the Blue Lantern Corps. So now I'm sitting here going, well, we could find, Starfire would fit into love, right? The love, I think that's purple. No, or passion, I guess, would be more apt. Like the Pink Lantern Corps, or maybe like magenta. I forget all the various cores. I think hope is either blue or purple. Will is green. I don't know about fear or anger. Those are kind of negative emotions. Robin would probably be, I don't know who Robin would be, or Beast Boy, to be honest. I don't know. That was just a random thought I had. Moving on, we are almost an hour into this, so that's fun. Next we have Beast Boy, who's kind of the goofy sidekick, kind of the lighthearted comic relief of the group, right? He's constantly the one doing burp jokes and slipping on banana peels and cracking wisecracks, constantly trying to get Raven to laugh. And he's just one of those characters where he's so fun and he's so funny, and he doesn't go through a lot of emotional character arcs. But anytime something bad happens to him, it just hurts. Where he's this fun-loving, chill dude who just loves getting along with people. He doesn't have a bad bone in his body. And then you have season 2, where he gets in a romantic relationship with Tara, only to find out that Tara betrays them. Betrays them, completely soiling their relationship, and he's left heartbroken. That's so depressing. And I guess I'll address season 2 while I'm here. I was going to just address Tara separately in season 2, but season 2 is about Beast Boy as well. So Tara is introduced as this young hero that helps the characters out. She's inexperienced. She doesn't quite know what she's doing. She has abandonment issues, acceptance issues. She's trying to find someone or somewhere where she'll fit in and people will accept her for her. She's keeping secrets as well. And she joins the Teen Titans. She impresses them, makes friends with them. She joins the Teen Titans. Beast Boy's head over heels in love with her, constantly asking her out. But she tells him that she like invokes in confidence, saying, yeah, look, don't tell anyone, but I can't control anything I do, right? She's so inexperienced, and she's self-conscious about that. And Beast Boy swears it to secrecy. And he does. He keeps it a secret. The only thing is, Robin is the sidekick of the world's greatest detective. So Robin figures it out pretty quickly, and when he does, Tara, who has these abandonment issues, who has these trust issues, automatically assumes Beast Boy betrayed her and runs off, only to be scooped up by Deathstroke, by Slade. And Slade preys on those insecurities to manipulate her into becoming a supervillain, to where when she comes back as a mole, and she hates the Titans. But slowly starts to fall for Beast Boy, and they finally develop this relationship to where when Slade makes his final move to attack all the Titans, to initiate an attack on Titan, if you will, Tara leads Beast Boy away, and they have the perfect date, right? They're finally like a couple. Beast Boy finally is on the top of the world, that finally he finds a girl who gets him, accepts him for him, and they just mesh so well. Right before Slade shows up and says, all right, it's time for me to take Beast Boy away. And now the situation has reversed, where she's broken their trust, and Beast Boy's just heartbroken, but he still believes there's good in Tara, so he constantly is pursuing Tara. In the last episode, she's a supervillain, but he finally breaks through to her, and she saves them by sacrificing her own life and Slade's life, and she's encased in stone. And it's really sad, because the one girl who ever accepted Beast Boy for who Beast Boy is, laughed at all his jokes, went along with the crazy shenanigans he pulled, is now basically dead / frozen. And it's such a depressing thing to think about, because it's Beast Boy. It's the guy who you aren't supposed to take seriously. The guy who's just there to make everyone feel good. And he can't feel good himself. And then he's still kind of around he's doing his thing for season 3 and season 4. Season 5 comes in. Season 5's his season, where you find out that he was once a member of the Doom Patrol, a superhero team that they find very popular in the scope of pop culture, not as popular as like the Justice League, or I guess the Justice League is really the biggest one. But he used to be a member of the Doom Patrol, and because Minto, the leader, wouldn't trust him, constantly put him down, Beast Boy has kind of developed this mental issue of it's kind of shaped him into a people pleaser, right? Where he's constantly just he was treated like a dog by Minto, so now he's just felt like he's not allowed to be a leader. He's never really taken initiative. He's always someone who's going to follow orders, try his best to please people. And season 5 starts out with Doom Patrol coming back, and Beast Boy and the Teen Titans have to save the Doom Patrol from the Brotherhood of Evil, led by a guy named Brain. And Beast Boy finally stands up to Minto, and it sets the track for season 5, where Beast Boy has to learn to step into his own as a leader, and basically say, I have to take initiative for my own life. I'm going to have to be able to lead people in times of crisis. So it comes to a head where the Brain basically is hunting down all the Teen Titans. At this point, the Teen Titans has grown exponentially. Robin has given communicators to every hero they've worked with. So now the Teen Titans is this global network, and the Brain is basically hunting them down one by one. And then it comes to a point where the Brain finally attacks the Teen Titans main group. He kidnaps Robin and takes almost every Teen Titan hostage except for Beast Boy, a wrestling luchador named Panthra, a silent guy who can possess people named Jericho, who in the comics is the son of Slade, Jericho, a dimension hopping guy who can open portals with a trumpet named Harold, and Moss, who is one half of the duo Masi Minos, who can run at super speeds when they touch. The issue is only one of them didn't get captured. So Beast Boy basically has to lead this team of people who are just feeling down and hopeless. People who just don't work together well. One guy, Jericho, can't talk. Mas doesn't have any superpowers, and Panthera is just over it. she can't work with an unprofessional group. So Beast Boy has to rally these group of ragtag misfits together and lead a rebellion. And when he finally gets there and they put up a fight and they fight valiantly, his friends show up with their own teams and they put on this giant fight. Save Robin, save Minos, save all the heroes that have been captured, and finally defeat Brain. And Beast Boy has finally stepped up as a leader. He's stepped up and taking initiative with his life and with his actions. So you finally get a moment of triumph for him. And then the last episode of the series, of the season end of the series, is an episode called Things Change, which kind of just basically is like an epilogue, right? They've defeated the Brain. The Teen Titans are now finally established as this worldwide hero group, and it ends with them confronting Dr. Light, who has just robbed a bank. And he looks up, and it's just like 50 superheroes just looking at him going, yeah, man, you screwed up this one. But then the next episode, Things Change, is all about them trying to readjust to their life, because the entirety of season 5 has been the team off on these adventures, right? They've been gone all season. So when they come back, their favorite pizza shop isn't there. Favorite comic and book shop isn't there. So it's them kind of dealing with the changes in their life, along with a new supervillain, who is this robot. And while they're fighting him, Beast Boy sees Terra, and he becomes obsessed with finding her. He goes back to the monument they set up with her frozen body, and she's gone. So he's convinced that this is Terra. And he finally has this glimmer of hope, this glimmer of a better life. And she doesn't recognize him. She rejects the name Terra. She says that's not who she is. She's just a normal schoolgirl. And Beast Boy spends the entire episode trying to convince her that she's Terra, showing her all the things they did, working really hard to recreate the moments they had in season 2, and she just rejects all of them, or they go wrong, or she doesn't respond to them well. Meanwhile, his entire team is just like struggling fighting this robot. And at the end of the episode, they realize they need Beast Boy, so they call Beast Boy, and that's where he's needed. That's where he belongs. And Beast Boy basically has to give up on this girl, right? The only positive relationship he had in terms of a romantic relationship. He has to willingly just give up in order to help his friends, in order to be with those he belongs with. A chance at a better life in order to do what's necessary. And it ends with him running down the hallway into just light, and it fades to white. And ironically enough, the show wasn't meant to get canceled after that episode. It just did, but it kind of it felt fitting because it dealt with change and set up that the world's different now, right? The era of the show we just watched is kind of done. And it ends with in a way where most of the other episodes, they fade to black. This episode fades to white, where there's some hope left. But you have to abandon the past. Beast Boy has to accept that things change and move on. And it felt fitting to end there. But it also was really depressing for Beast Boy. Beast Boy just isn't allowed happiness in his personal life. But yeah. The final character of the group to wrap up with is Starfire, who unfortunately doesn't get her own season, so this one will be kind of short. A lot of her main thing is that she's new to Earth, she's innocent, she's learning about Earth customs, and nearly all of her episodes are just fun, right? First season, she deals with her sister's Blackfire coming in, and like she has to worry about her insecurities of she really wants to be liked by everyone. And the minute people start responding to Blackfire, her sister, those insecurities come back up, and she's worried that she's going to be replaced by her sister, even though Robin and the rest of the team never intended for that to happen. She just feels insecure about her sister. There's another episode where her sister takes over Tamaran, her home planet, and kidnaps her sister to come in and marry some alien warlord in order to calm a war down. Only to find out that Blackfire's just trying to get rid of her so she can get rich. There's an episode where Starfire goes through Tamaranian puberty and her body, starts changing. She develops this giant zit on her forehead. Her ears become pointed. Her feet start looking like Bigfoot's feet. And she starts worrying about her appearance. She thinks her friends won't like her anymore, so she hides who she is and before running off. Once again, first off, hiding secrets. Robin's the first one to come to her and say, it's okay. But it's also a moment where you recognize she wants to be perfect. Not for herself, but for her friends. She wants her friends to like her, so she wants to present herself as the most perfect person she could be. And anytime there's insecurities, anytime there's a challenge to that, a lot of the time she just kind of wants to hide away. She doesn't want people to see any of those flaws because she's afraid that people won't like her because of that. And Robin in this episode has to step up to her and say, look, it's okay. We accept you for who you are. We accept your flaws because everyone is. And once again, another powerful moment. And they start to develop a relationship. There's an episode where they're stranded on a planet and they all have to work together to come together. And Robin and Starfire end up getting paired up. So that episode focuses on them sorting out where their relationship is. My favorite Starfire episode is an episode called Troc, where basically like alien Captain America comes down, where he's like the perfect and most noble space hero ever. He's fighting all sorts of tyranny and beating up the bad guys, and all the Teen Titans love him. He's this adult to aspire to be. The only issue is that this guy is incredibly racist against Tamaranians. So he calls Starfire Troc, which is a derogatory term for her and her people. So the episode deals with racism, but in a very tactful way where it's not, oh, this guy is just evil. No, he does good. He, in general, is a good person, but then he has just this really, really wrong view towards Starfire and her people, even though Starfire is, out of the entire group, the most innocent and probably the most pure person, pure character you will ever see in the show. And they have this huge battle, all this conflict. Starfire sits down with Cyborg and basically has to explain it, because the rest of the group is not aware of this. They're ignorant to it. And because this guy gives them all nicknames, he calls Robin Spiky and, all that kind of stuff, they just assume Troc is another nickname. So Cyborg calls her Troc, and she gets pissed off at him and has to explain, that is a derogatory term. It literally means nothing. We are no one. We're worth nothing. And Cyborg has to kind of go, oh crap, yeah, no, we shouldn't say it. And Starfire's like, hey, don't tell anyone this. But Cyborg is like, no, I want to stand up for you. He tells Robin, and Robin's first instinct is, I'm going to beat this dude up. But it's Starfire who goes, no, we shouldn't fight him, because that would just prove him right. So she continues to fight by this guy's side. And in the end of the episode, the guy's about to die because he's delivered a bomb to the alien mothership in which they're fighting. And he's going to die and explode with it. And Starfire, breaks in and says, no, you may not care about my life, but I care about yours. Saves him, proves herself to be the better person. And his response isn't, wow, maybe I was wrong. Maybe Tamarans aren't that bad. No, he just looks at her and goes, yeah, maybe you're one of the good ones. And I'm like, jeez, dude. Like, that's probably a much more real response from someone who has that ingrained racism to him. And that just makes it feel a lot more real and heartbreaking, where he doesn't learn his lesson and he doesn't come to see he's in the wrong. No, he just goes, no, I'm right. You're just one of the exceptions to the rule. Which, it's a much more mature way to handle things. And that's kind of where the episode ends. And it's a great episode. And probably the scene that's been memed the most out of it is when Starfire's talking to Cyborg and tells him about this. He goes, yeah, no, I know what it's like to be judged based on my appearance. And for context, if you haven't seen the show, I don't know why you've watched this far or listened this far in, but hey, welcome. For context, for anyone who is unaware of the fact, Cyborg is an African-American guy. So, when he says, I know how it feels, he says, I know how it feels to be judged on your appearance. Kind of when you connect the racism angle, like, it kind of leads you down that one way, and he goes, I'm half robot. And it's an unintentionally funny moment in the serious moment, but it kind of works. But overall, really good episode. She's a really good character. Trouble in Tokyo is kind of her moment to shine, really. Where Robin's dealing with his obsession about being a hero. Starfire's basically saying, like, look, I want to cement ourselves in a relationship. I really have intense attraction and feelings towards you. You have to learn to accept that not everything in life has to be about superheroism, right? You can take time for yourself. You can pursue relationships you want to pursue. There's plenty of people out there handling stuff for you. And so she's kind of just dealing with that kind of relational conflict and wanting to pursue that. And finally, at the end of the movie, they share a kiss and become a couple. And it's a very fulfilling thing to see, because she has wanted this for so long. Robin's wanted it for so long, but Robin's obsession with being a superhero and Starfire's kind of bashful shyness and not wanting to upset anyone, and learning Earth customs, not knowing what the right thing to do is in the situation, has kind of prevented them from coming together. But they finally come together, and it's a really, really sweet moment. So yeah, Teen Titans is it's a really good show. If I had any critiques of it, episodes like the tofu episode where it just kind of gets too stupid. Like, I enjoyed some of the bonkers episodes. There's an episode where a magician character puts them all in a hat. That's a fun episode. But then the tofu stuff is just a bit too stupid. And then this is going to be really specific, but the sound mixing was not the best for the entire show, or at least I guess the sound effects. There should have been more. Were way too many moments where they're moving and there's no whoosh or footsteps. That's about it. It's still a really good show. And I barely talked about Trouble in Tokyo. It's the movie. It basically kind of wraps up and solidifies Robin and Starfire's relationship as an ending to the show. It could have been better. They go to Tokyo, Japan, to fight a villain that you've never heard of before. They created him for the movie, I'm pretty sure. Never popped up in the show, never popped up in the comics. And they go to fight this guy, and it's kind of a very obvious twist villain that you, literally my little brother who has never seen the movie before, first time the culprit pops up on screen, he goes, that's the bad guy, isn't he? It's a little obvious. They probably could have done a little bit better by returning Slade, who, once he gets resurrected in season 4, stays alive. He fights to earn his life back. So it's Slade's kind of still out there. They could have wrapped up with a movie where they fight Slade again, introduce another villain from the comics that was pretty big, or something like that. But overall, it's a solid movie that I really enjoyed. I'd give the show a 9 out of 10, and the movie 7 out of 10. Both really good. Highly recommend. And yeah, let's just wrap it up with the bottom line and then move on. So the bottom line is the Teen Titans was a fantastic cartoon from the 2000s that appealed to kids without being condescending towards them, while also appealing to adults by approaching mature themes and stories in a serious and thorough manner. It addressed themes of obsession, humanity, identity, leadership, loneliness, responsibility, and others that could resonate with adults and help kids figure out those same problems and work through them as they watch the show. They took an alien, the daughter of an interdimensional demon, a literal cyborg, and a green changeling, and made them feel human. It showed that your appearance and past don't define who you are or what you should do. You make your own decisions and surround yourself with people who will be supportive and push you to be a better version of yourself. We all have our struggles and our vices, but we work to overcome those to become better people, and maybe, just maybe, we can be heroes in our own right. Teen Titans is one of the best cartoons from the 2000s, and it really highlights how the best children's cartoons transcend the age barriers and cement itself in pop culture history. So yeah, that's Teen Titans. And that last part, I don't know if I touched too much on, but that's what makes this show memorable. That's what makes this show good, is the themes and the stories it tells resonate. The characters resonate with anyone of any age. That's why shows like this stick around forever, while shows like Teen Titans Go, once it gets canceled, no one's going to remember it. No one's going to talk about it ever again because it was just a dumb baby show for babies. It was a dumb kid show for babies. Why do you think people still talk about Sesame Street? Because it appealed to everybody, right? I still sometimes watch Sesame Street because it's entertaining. It's a dumb baby show for babies. But I still find enjoyment out of it because it's smart in what it does and how it presents things. It doesn't treat you like an idiot. That's why, honestly, I think that's why Paw Patrol is going to be remembered. It's a relatively new show. They're making a movie. The only reason that's fresh on my mind is people are complaining about it. There's an article written saying Paw Patrol is a far-right movie because it has a police officer in the lead role. Which I just found stupid. It's a kids show. It's not going to be far right propaganda because they have a police dog mixed in with a trash dog and a firefighter dog and a pilot. It literally, that's your only rationale. It's not pushing any politics. It's literally just talking about working together and, working as a group to accomplish goals. That's all it is, and helping people. Going out of your way to help people. But, I think Paw Patrol will be around for a while because it doesn't really treat the audience like they're stupid. It just tells fun, goofy stories that kids are going to get a kick out of. While, still being something that adults can watch and go, I don't mind my kid watching this, right? I can watch this with my kid and have a fun time because it's only focused on just kind of having themes that teach the lessons rather than just looking at the camera and going, teamwork makes the dream work. Stuff like that. Sesame Street, The Muppets, Scooby-Doo even, has stuck around for years because of, A, how marketable it is, but how enjoyable it is for anyone of any age group. Stuff like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. One of my favorite movies of all time is a kid's movie, The Lion King. Because it doesn't treat the audience like they're stupid, and they don't go, oh, it's a dumb baby movie for babies. They said, let's work on making a movie and a story that everyone can identify with at any part of their lives. And that's why, and this is going to be something completely out of pocket in terms of what we talked about so far, but that's why the whole argument when someone has a problem with a kid's show or a kid's movie, oh, it's just for kids, it's for babies, you should allow that. No, because we've seen plenty of examples of shows and cartoons and movies that are made for kids that don't make stupid mistakes, that aren't lazy. So that's not an excuse to make a lazy kid show or a kid's movie. That's how it was with Space Jam. So many people are like, well, it's not made for adults like you. It's made for kids. I'm like, sure, okay, if the kids are having a fun time, sure, but that doesn't mean it's a good movie or you should excuse it, right? Like, just because the kids had fun doesn't mean it's a good movie. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is 5,000 times better because it can be enjoyed by adults. But anyway, that was a little tangent. I'm sorry. Well, we're going to wrap up with the release radar and with my weekly recommendations. Let's start with the release radar. First off, Stargirl Season 2 is starting up has started up this past week. First episode debuted on the CW. It is now a CW show, which worries me a lot. But based on the reviews of the first episode, it seems like it's still sticking to what it is, which is good. I've heard it's a solid superhero show. I first heard about it and I said, this ain't for me, dog. But reviews have been coming out about the first season saying it's really good. So I've been meaning to check it out. I've even seen some people say it's better than, like, it's on par with, like, early seasons Arrow and Flash. So we'll see. But go check that out if you're interested. Next, Marvel Studios' What If, the animated MCU show on Disney Plus, which basically just explores different scenarios introduced by Uatu the Watcher. Yeah, I'm sure that'll be fun. Once again, well, I lost the password to the Disney Plus account I was using, so I can't watch this, but this didn't really interest me in the first place, and I still have yet to see any of the Disney Plus shows, so that is something I plan to catch up on at some point, but first I gotta get access to Disney Plus again. Next, Brooklyn Nine-Nine has its final season starting. And that's kind of sad, but you know what? I guess that is what it is. I've heard it's a really funny show. I haven't personally watched it. I've literally only seen and rewatched the scene from one of the cold opens where they have the criminal lineup, right? And the witness comes in. She's supposed to point him out. And I forget how it starts, but Andy Samberg's character is just like, all right, you say the line, and they just start singing where it's singing I Want It That Way by Backstreet Boys. So it's just, one of them just starts going, you are my fire. And then Andy Samberg goes, okay, number 2, my one desire, number 3. And it just keeps going down the line, and it was such a funny moment. Something that I continue to rewatch. So I was actually planning. I'm watching a show right now. I'm watching Futurama, and I am about halfway done with season 9 out of the 10 seasons. So I'm almost done with that. I was planning to start Brooklyn Nine-Nine once I finished Futurama. So I'm actually very close to starting this show from the very beginning. Hopefully I can catch up to the final season before it all ends. But I've heard it's a really fun and good show. Next, Free Guy is in theaters. I forgot to mention what the last 3, but you can figure that out for yourself. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I think it's NBC Fox, next day on Hulu. Free Guy's in theaters starring Ryan Reynolds, where basically an NPC in like a GTA 5 type game becomes sentient. It looks fun. It has been getting remarkably good reviews from critics, which so did The Suicide Squad, and I walked away from that slightly disappointed. It's still a great movie, but I feel like the critics are now just overhyping everything now that movies are coming out. So the big blockbuster or headliner movie that comes out every week now, I feel all the critics are just sitting here going, oh my gosh, this movie is amazing. And then people go to watch it and it goes, yeah, it was good. It was great even. But the best movie ever made? No. But this looks like it'll be a fun time. I'm sure it won't be bad. Titans. I know it says season 2 on the poster, but Titans season 3 has started up. It is now an HBO Max original rather than a DC Universe original. They're releasing, I think, 1 episode a week. Yeah. I have not seen Titans, by the way. But also, funnily enough, with this coming out and me talking about Teen Titans, I am a big fan of Teen Titans. I've been wanting to check it out. My only issue is, it has not been getting good reviews. And I know Ethan recommended it last week. So it has its fans, but the people that I trust don't like it. But that's fine. I've been meaning to check it out at some point because I do think some of the costumes look pretty, like that Hawk costume, the Dove costume. I really like the Robin costume. My only issue and the reason I haven't seen it yet, I did not appreciate the trailer for season 1 where Robin just goes, F Batman. Like, come on, dude. No need to be that edgy. And then I still don't understand why they didn't give Starfire orange skin, because that's like a defining trait of who she is, the green skin and the green eyes. Like, those are her two defining traits, and the Starfire in this poster just looks like a normal woman who dyed her hair pink. Not even orange, just pink. So I saw all that and I was just like, this doesn't even look like Starfire. This just seems like some random woman you'd see on the streets. But I've heard people like it, and also it looks like Beast Boy doesn't even have green skin. I guess they have an aversion to just making people's skin not natural colors. But also that Deathstroke costume looks freaking epic. So I'll check it out at some point. Next, Respect is out in theaters. I don't know why this poster was probably released before it was delayed. It says in theaters December, but it's actually in theaters right now, August time. It's about Aretha Franklin, starring Jennifer Hudson, who I think won American Idol one year. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy Aretha Franklin. I think this will be a solid musical biopic. Respect is an iconic song. RESPECT, find out what it means to me. Like, that's a classic line. That is something everyone knows. So this should be interesting. Next, Don't Breathe 2 is out in theaters. I have not seen Don't Breathe 1, but it seems like a good time. A lot of people like it. I'm sure this will be a good time, and I'm sure a lot of people like it. Just a bunch of revenge thrillers with Stephen freaking Lang. I mean, that sounds epic. And then finally, Kissing Booth 3, if you are in the Kissing Booth lore or whatever. Yeah. There's that end of an era. Yep, I don't know. Kissing Booth has never been my thing. Never really wanted to watch it. But yeah. So if you're a fan of that, go check it out. That is on Netflix. All right. Finally, we got our weekly recommendations. I got 3 of them for you this week. I have spent the past few months watching mostly garbage. For whatever reason, I just kept watching movies that were either middle of the road or just like okay, or just straight up garbage. Mainly because I'm trying to, I don't know, I've become obsessed with just trying to find movies that look bad and just watching them just to see if A, I get any enjoyment out of them, or B, like, to really go, now why does this suck so much and how could I do it better? But this week, I got lucky and watched a whole bunch of really good movies. So here's 3 of them I watched. Let's start with the most popular one. Blade Runner 2049. I watched this week. I saw Blade Runner last year. I'm not a huge fan of it. Like, it's good, but it's not something that's like top tier for me yet. I know one of my buddies absolutely loves both movies. Both of them are like his top 20 of all time. Blade Runner 2049 isn't quite there for me yet, but it is a really good movie. Beautiful colors. Oh my gosh, the cinematography and the color grading is amazing. Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford deliver really good performances. I really liked Ana de Armas's character also. Ana de Armas. I really loved her in Knives Out. She's slowly becoming like one of my favorite actresses. She's a very attractive woman, very good at acting. I wish Jared Leto was in it a bit more, and the main antagonist lady was a little overacting a bit, but besides that, a really good movie. Like, for an hour and 50-minute long movie, it kind of went by pretty quickly. uh, but yeah, there was that. Really good. I highly recommend. I'd give it like a 9 out of 10. Next, we got House. I watched this yesterday. I had no idea what it was. I saw it on a lot of lists on Letterboxd. I just saw the poster and said, that looks interesting as crap. And someone had mentioned it was like one of their favorite movies of all time. And I said, okay, let's watch it. I have no idea what to expect going into this. And I think that's the best way to go into it, is basically just know nothing. House is a Japanese movie that was made in the 70s. And I'm not going to tell you anything about the plot. All I'm going to say, it's a haunted house movie. And the best way I can describe it is someone took Scooby-Doo, made an all-girls Scooby-Doo, put it into a sitcom, and then had it directed by David Lynch. And if that sounds interesting to you, then you will love this movie. There are not a lot of people that I have seen who have watched it who hated it. This is just like one of those weird, like, if you like weird movies, this is it for you, right? Just watch like the first 10 minutes, and if you're not like completely vibing with it, don't watch the rest. But I completely vibed with it. I loved it from start to finish. It kind of got a little weird towards the end for me, which kind of knocked it off a point, but I mean, it's such a bizarre movie. I don't even want to go into some of the craziest stuff. But suffice to say, if you like trippy imagery, tongue-in-cheek jokes, I laughed out loud a few times watching this. Horrific things happening that will terrify you. And if you just like really good kills, this is the movie for you. This movie is just a wild ride. And then finally, City of God, or I think is Ciudad de Deus, Portuguese Brazilian movie that came out in 2002. That is about a bunch of these low-end people living in Rio de Janeiro, basically surviving. And it is such a good movie. It is full of atrocious people and awful things happening. There are a couple moments where I squirmed in my seat and felt sick to my stomach. Our main character, Rocket, was really good. Our main antagonist, which I guess is our main antagonist, everyone in the movie is kind of just bad people doing bad things. But if you really want to figure out the main antagonist, Lil Z, what is one of my favorite movie antagonists ever now. It just has a good look to it. The beginning, one of the beginning shots where Rocket's bending down to pick up a chicken, and the camera's just zooming around him, and then it transitions into a flashback, was brilliant. I really love some of the tragedies. Some of the characters in this movie were great. I'm gonna say Knockout Ned's story was really good and heartbreaking. Benny was another good character. The scene, one of the scenes that made my stomach churn was one of the most uncomfortable things I'd seen. That I literally almost started crying, not because of sadness or anything, but because I was just like, this is atrocious. This is awful. I hate every minute of this, but I kind of love it. I'll just call it Steak's decision, where Steak has to make a choice. And it was stomach churning. That's like the only scene Steak actually plays a pivotal role in, but it is an effective scene nonetheless. But yeah, it was a really good movie. One of the stars of it is the lady who played Sol Soria in the Suicide Squad, which kind of threw me off a bit because the rest of these people I haven't seen in anything. They've been, I think, exclusively based in Brazil. So the fact that she's the only one who actually has been in stuff was crazy. But because all of them were such good actors, such a good movie. It's probably in my top, at the very least, my top 100. It's probably in my top 50 as of now, movies of all time. It's just such a good movie, and the more I sit and think about it, the more I like it. But yeah, those are my weekly recommendations. Tell me what you think in the comments below about it. What did you think about, well, have you seen or heard of House or Blade Runner 2049 or City of God? What do you think about it? Have you seen them? Are you going to see any of the weekly release radar stuff? Probably only one most people will go see is Free Guy or Don't Breathe 2. Tell me what you think about that in the comments below. Excuse me. I don't know. Sometimes I'm in the flow and then something happens where I got a cough or a burp or whatever. I don't know, stuff happens, right? But let me know in the comments down below, did you watch Teen Titans growing up? Are you particularly attached to the show? Do you think it's one of the best cartoons ever made, or it doesn't live up to the hype? Let me know in the comments below. Tell me if I'm wrong, or tell me if I'm right, whatever. Press the subscribe button, press the notification bell on YouTube, subscribe to us on Rumble, follow us on Spotify, give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, follow us anywhere you listen to podcasts, because we're most likely on there. And yeah, that's been the Cinema Lounge. I've been your host, Garrett Inman. This has been a very long episode, one of my longest ones. We are we probably just passed the hour and 42-minute mark, which makes this one of, if not the longest podcast I've done. So if you've stuck around towards the end, thank you so much. That's why I love you the most. I hope you guys have a good day. I love you. And remember, when there's trouble, you know who to call. Either the Ghostbusters or the Teen Titans. Have a good night, everybody. I love you all. When there's trouble, you know who to call.